Hello and welcome to this video looking at how we might be inclusive and engaging in our teaching sessions. I'm Alex Borman. I work and teach at the University of Lincoln in the engineering department, so the examples I'm going to give are engineering or STEM related. And one of the things I'm going to look to tap into is the fact that at some time or another we were all, hopefully, curious, but we're all children. So I'm going to look at some examples of how we can teach with toys and with familiar objects so that they're already slightly engaged because they may be familiar with the objects that we're showing them. With that come two sorts of challenges. There's the practical challenges. How do I actually make this stuff visible to my students? You know, it could be quite small. I might have a group of 100 plus students. So we'll look at that aspect. And then how do we build sessions around it, and you know, what sort of things, what sort of wider things, previewing, pre-thinking about this stuff could we do as well, so it's not just one little model sat on the front at the front of the lecture theatre or the seminar room. So I'm going to jump in and just show you very quickly the sort of thing I'm thinking about. So here we can see we've got a wonderful little Lego model. This is set number 9610, so this was a set that was already pre-made by Lego. Turn my camera off for a minute. And you can see we've got some wonderful dynamics here that we can try and get students to consider what's happening as they, you know, as you turn the dial, what's happening, how can you describe the motion that's taking place. And it's wonderful because you can change the size of the gears, so you've got gear ratios you can change. Students can work out the rate of turning one gear, how it changes the rate of turning the other gear, the different effect it has on the people, the little minifigures there. So that's the sort of demonstration, the sort of question that we could start to pose to our students. But it's quite small. So first off, how am I projecting that to you? Because I've got another camera turned on today outside of my normal setup. So the practicality wise, the setup I'm using, there's an app called DroidCAM OBS, so I'm streaming and recording using OBS Studio. DroidCAM OBS is a free app. There's a small fee if you want to get rid of the adverts. It's about £5, worth doing if you're doing lots of these. And you can project using your phone. It's an external web camera, so that's how I'm doing this with the piece on my other display. So you can see there quite nicely, and it's all very high quality streaming stuff. So that's the practicality side, and you can project that onto a whiteboard. If you pay for the DroidCAM OBS app, as opposed to using the free one, you can also use a USB cable from your phone into the computer, and it'll connect to OBS that way as well. So that's one example, but then what sort of things, how can we produce some materials that would be useful to students that could get them thinking about this before the session or maybe after the session? You know, because they've seen the model, what else are they going to do with it? It's not just a talking point. So if I take that off for a moment. So you can see here, I've got a website open called Bricklink. So Bricklink, if you're a fan of Lego, Bricklink you may be familiar with. But Bricklink is a site where you can engage with and buy second-hand Lego parts. I'm not looking at buying and selling today. I'm looking at, we scroll down, this feature here called Bricklink Studio. So Studio is basically CAD software for Lego. So you can download it, it's all free, you can download it here, you can make wonderful constructions. If I open this, you can see I've got my model of my fairground ride from that set 9610, and I've got it there. I've built that up. It took about 15-20 minutes getting the colours right and making sure everything was in place. So you could send that to students. You can actually make a little animated GIF if you want. Send it to students. It's not obvious necessarily what that is to start with. So you could send it out to students and say, this is going to be the demonstration piece at the start of the lecture. What do you think it is? What does it do? How does it work? And can you tell me some of the interesting dynamics behind it? And at the start, the actual initial model doesn't have the big gear, little gear setup, so you could also ask them, how could you adapt this? How could you modify it, make it go faster, make it go slower? There's all sorts of questions you could pose just from that initial starting point of, here's some Lego in a set, what could you do with it? Jumping back to the cameras. It's not just one Lego set, obviously there's all sorts, because Lego is wonderful, you can do lots of things with Lego. There are lots of old sets, so there we go. So that's set 9618. So 9618 was all sorts of different bridges that you could make. So again, very easy to construct things with Lego pieces. And these wooden pieces here that don't look like Lego, that's because they're not Lego. They were originally some wooden pieces that were part of the set. I didn't have the original set, so I just drilled some lollipop sticks to replace them. But you can get an idea of compression and tension. You can teach some structural analysis. You can model it with nice little kits there, and rather than just talking about it on a whiteboard or in videos. There's something physical you can actually get students to see, and you can obviously make that much bigger. I've just kept it small. That's about half the size of the original set, just for the purposes of getting it on this table for this demonstration. So once you've got some CAD model that you can upload beforehand, you can get students thinking, you can pose questions, you can get them in the room. If you've got enough pieces, they could build their own sets. Some of these sets are quite cheap, some of them are a bit more expensive, depending on how many, particularly the Technics parts, if you were to buy lots of them. But it's just a way of engaging students in something they're already familiar with. They've all had toys, they've all played when they were children, hopefully. So they've all been those curious explorers, and it's that sort of thought process that we're trying to inspire moving forward with demonstrations and models that are a little bit more familiar with them, particularly in the early years as they're just entering university. How can we get them with some common ground? Toys, games, they're all things that are very common that they should have experienced. So hopefully that's given you some ideas for your teaching. If you've got questions, if you've got ideas that you'd like to see, if you want to carry on seeing what else I'm posting as I keep developing things, do subscribe to the channel. Do drop in the chat if you've tried some of these and it's worked really well. It's always good to hear what people are doing, how students are responding, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.